It's been stop and go for car and ride-sharing companies such as Lyft or UberX, FlightCar, and Relay Rides at San Francisco International Airport. But its new agreement has given one business a green light to operate illegally at the airport. That's good news for fans of relay rides. A San Francisco-based peer-to-peer car-sharing company that since August has provided departing passengers free airport parking and car washes, while offering arriving visitors great rental deals on those cars. Relay Rides, which has car shares available in 1,900 US cities, had argued that it was exempt from having to pay the airport the same fees that traditional rental car agencies pay because it operates in the shared economy marketplace. But that didn't sit right with SFO, which derives about 10% of its annual operating budget, 94 million US dollars in fiscal year 2011 to 12 from such fees. The airport maintained that Relay Rides and FlightCar, another business with an almost identical car-sharing service, must pay rental car concession fees to operate at the airport. San Francisco International has filed a legal complaint against FlightCar, but under the first such agreement between a sharing economy company and a major U.S. airport, Relay Rides has agreed to be classified as an off-airport rental. That means that, just like any other off-site car rental company, it will abide by state and airport permitting, licensing, and congestion reduction rules. It also will pay SFO 10% of gross revenues from its airport-related transactions, plus a $20 per transaction fee, said airport spokesman Doug Yakio. A traveler heading to the airport can reserve a free parking spot for a qualified car at the Relay Rides lot, and then take a shuttle to the terminal. Relay Rides will wash the car and make it available to qualified renters at a rate the company toot, as to 20% to 40% less than traditional car rentals. It also provides owners with a $1 million liability policy. The agreement, announced Monday, is a win for SFO because the airport is being creative about new streams of revenue while maintaining and expanding services to passengers, said airport concessions consultant Ellery Pullman of Alico. But travelers also gain, Yakio of SFO said. We want to provide options that our customers are ready to seeking out. We also need to enforce safety and fairness, and this shows that it can be done, he added. In a statement, Relight CEO Andrew Haddad said the deal illustrates that airports and sharing economy companies can work together, and will serve as a blueprint for how Relight plans to grow its business at airports. Though other peer-to-peer car and ride-share services are not authorized to operate at SFO, that may change in the near future. Flightcar CEO Rajul Zapard said by email that his company is in dialogue with SFO. And Yakio says the airport has been meeting with representatives of several sharing economy groups that it hopes will soon be authorized to operate there. The arrangement with Relight is being examined by other airports, including some that have taken legal action against the Flightcar, and other companies operating shared economy transportation services without concession agreements. The stakes are high. According to the Federal Aviation Administration, U.S. airports earned $1,500 billion from rental car company fees last year, or about 20% of their non-aeronautical revenue. This is the next news. It's Thanksgiving weekend, and it is you versus left pie. You would think that a solid strategy to override impulsive face-stuffing episodes would be to stop for a minute and reason with yourself. Do I really want this? Do I really need it? This is the diet strategy that often handed out this time of year. Anyway, but we know how easy it is to take ourselves right out of it. The comedian Jim Gaffigan has a joke that goes, I normally don't have a burger, a bread, and a steak, but it is the 4th of July. That's essentially the concept behind a new analysis of 50 studies looking at impulse control. If you give yourself a moment to think about why you should or should not have a second, third piece of pie, you'll almost certainly come up with reasons why you should, even if this decision gets in the way of a long-term goal to lose weight. That's because most of us, most of the time, don't give in to temptation because of our lack of willpower, or because we are overly impulsive, suggests the review, which was led by Dutch social psychologist Jesse de Wet Hubers. Nope, we indulge ourselves because we are really good at justifying the things that we just kinda want to do. Even if doing those things comes at the expense of our long-term goals. Even if you are not interested in weight loss, You are not immune to this concept. If you've ever trained for a race, you know how easy it is to skip a run because you walked a lot today. Or if you've ever tried to save money by going out to eat less, you know how easy it is to head to happy hour with your friends because you worked really hard this week. But even though we instinctively know this happens, there's, there hasn't been a lot of research to prove it. As most of psychology research sees it, when we fail to act in line with our intentions, we lack self-control or overwhelmed by impulse. DeWitt Hubert said via email. As a result, it is often advised to think after you act, so as to cool down and make a reasoned decision. However, our reasoning is not immune to our motivations and pulses either. In fact, we often rely on reasoning processes to indulge. Recently, research has started to emerge that examines how we are able to talk ourselves into sabotaging our own goals. In these studies, participants are provided with a justification they've done something responsible or good. Next, they have to make some sort of choice, ostensibly as part of a separate study. In one example, people who imagined donating a sizable chunk of their tax return to charity were more likely to choose for themselves expensive sunglasses over a more particular pair. The idea is that they were more likely to think they deserved the fancier pair. The same has been found with good. DeWitt Hubert says, these studies have constantly found that participants who had a justification were more likely to choose the unhealthy option or eat more the unhealthy snacks in the bogus taste than people without a justification. What's fascinating about this idea, DeWitt Hubert says, is how easily people were convinced by their own justifications. In the tax return example, for instance, people just imagined that they had helped someone, and even that was enough to justify choosing the nicer pair of shades. The good news is that once we understand how skilled we are at manipulating ourselves, it gets easier to resist our own manipulations. Take another minute to really consider your justifications and ask yourself these questions. 1. Is this really a circumstance that allows me to make an exception? And for holidays like Thanksgiving, that answer is probably yes. 2. Does this help me to reach my goal? Even if the answer to the first question is affirmative, DeWitt Hubert says, the second question will help people realize that they might be fooling themselves and keep them on track. And this is the next news. London, the publisher of a controversial and much criticized the studies suggesting genetically modified corn caused tumors in rats has withdrawn the paper after a year-long investigation found it did not meet scientific standards. Read Elsevier's Food and Chemical Toxicology (FCT) journal, which published the study by the French researcher Gilles-Éric Seralini in September 2012, said the retraction was because the study's small sample size meant no definitive conclusions could be reached. This retraction comes after a thorough and time-consuming analysis of the published article and the data it reports, along with an investigation into the peer review behind the article. The journal said in a statement, ultimately, the results presented, while not incorrect, are inconclusive, and therefore do not reach the threshold of publication for food and chemical toxicology. At the time of its original publication, hundreds of scientists across the world questioned Seralini's research, which said rats fed Monsanto's GM corn had suffered tumors and multiple organ failure. The European Food Safety Authority (EFSA) issued a statement in November 2012 saying the study by Seralini, who was based at France's University of Caen, had serious defects in design and methodology and did not meet acceptable scientific standards. Within weeks of its appearance in the peer-reviewed journal, more than 700 scientists had signed an online petition calling on Seralini to release all the data from his research. In its retraction statement, the FCT said that, in light of this concern, it too had asked to view the raw data. Seralini agreed and supplied all material that was requested by the editor-in-chief. It said, the journal said that while it has received many letters expressing concerns about the validity of the findings, the proper use of animals, and even allegations of fraud, its own investigation found no evidence of fraud or international misrepresentation of the data. However, there is a legitimate cause cause for concern regarding both the number of animals in each study group and the particular strain selected, it said. Sarah Linney, who works in Cannes with a group called CREGEN, the Committee for Research and Independent Information on Genetic Engineering, said the journal's criticisms of his work were unacceptable. Were FCT to persist in its decision to retract our study, CREGEN would attack with lawyers, including in the United States, to require financial compensation for the huge damage to our group, it said in a statement. Other scientists, however, welcomed the journal's decision, although some said it had come too late. The major flaws in this paper make its retraction the right things to do, said Kathy Martin, a professor at John Innes Center. The strength of braids used is highly susceptible to tumors after 18 months with or without GOM, genetically modified organisms, in their diets. David Spiegelhalter, a professor of the public understanding of risk at the University of Cambridge, said it was clear from even a superficial reading that this paper was not fit for publication. In this instance, he said, the peer review process had not worked properly, but at least this has now been remedied, and the journal has recognized that no conclusions can be drawn from this study. So I suppose it is better late than never, he said. And this is the last news. A generally active life, even without regular exercise sessions, was tied to better heart health and greater longevity in the study of older Swedes, based on nearly 3,900 men and women over age 60 in Stockholm. The study adds to evidence suggesting that just sitting around may be actively harmful. Researchers said, we have known for 60 years that physical activity is important for the heart, said lead author Ellen Ekblom Beck of the Astrand Laboratory of Work Physiology of the Swedish School of Sport and Health Sciences in Stockholm. But until recently, the research has mainly focused on exercise and has forgotten about the background activity that we do during daily life, she told Reuters Health. Whether someone exercises vigorously or not, it still usually only takes up a small fraction of the day. That leaves the rest of the time for either sitting still or engaging in non-exercise activities like home repairs, lawn care and gardening, car maintenance, hunting or fishing. For older people, who tend to exercise vigorously less than younger people, spending more time doing low-intensity activities like this could help cut down on sitting time. Ekblom, Beck, and her colleagues write in the British Journal of Sports Medicine. Between 1997 and 1999, more than 5,000 60-year-olds were invited to participate in the study, which began with a questionnaire about health history, lifestyle and daily activities, as well as medical tests and measurements. At the study's outset, people who were more active on a daily basis, regardless of their exercise levels, tended to have smaller waist and healthier cholesterol levels. The participants were allowed for the next 12.5 years. During that time, nearly 500 people had a first-time heart attack or stroke, and nearly 400 people died from any cause. People who had reported high levels of daily non-exercise activity were less likely to suffer a heart-related event and less likely to die than those who were the least active. For every 100 people reporting low activity levels who had a heart attack or stroke, for example, only 73 highly active people experienced such events. For every 100 of the least active who died, only 70 of the most active did. These are fascinating findings, said David Dunstan of the Baker ITI Heart and Diabetes Institute in Melbourne, Australia. But not really surprising, since other studies that have looked at this from a different angle. That is, describing the detrimental relationship between excessive sitting and mortality outcomes are essentially showing the same thing, but in reverse, because there is such a high correlation between sitting time and non-exercise physical activity behaviors. While sitting, muscles do not contract and blood flow decreases, which reduces the efficiency of many body processes. like absorbing glucose from the blood, said Dunstan, who studies heart health and exercise.